Sounds to me like you're ready to start a podcast.
I was this close. I've been tempted.
Well, you're sitting in front of all these people talking very comfortably.
Yeah, I am.
Just start.
I'm gonna have to start. You guys really
grab a microphone. It's very inexpensive.
Some of your shows, you know, and at least give me some opportunity to get good at it, because you know sometimes.
What are you doing Tuesday?
Welcome to the 100th episode of In Touch with iOS, a podcast that talks about iPhone, iPad, Apple TV, Apple Watch, and related technologies, plus tips, apps, and gear. And I'm your host, Dave Ginsburg, and happy birthday to my co-host, Warren Sklar. How you doing, Warren?
Hey, I'm doing good. There's 100 episodes of that and 49 episodes of me. Thank you. No, I'm good.
Good. And I forgot to turn my headphones on, so we'll have to edit that in post.
Did you hear anything I said?
No, but it recorded it.
I called.
Let's start.
I called you a hoser, and
did you? Cool.
It's for the best. You couldn't hear it, really.
Yeah. It wasn't important.
Let me bring back here what I was supposed to say here. Yeah, that's okay. We'll leave this in because it's fun. Here we are with 100 episodes, and it was only fitting that I asked one of my first guests that was on the show, Ms. Kelly Guimont. How you doing, Kelly?
I'm doing well. Congratulations on 100 episodes. I'm super excited that you made triple digits. That's so great.
I did. It's exciting. I thought I don't need to do it after 100. You know, after 200-300, it's like old school. But I figured I got this far. Why not have a little mini celebrations here? And as everybody doesn't know, Kelly, you were the first guest on the show when I had the format officially changed to guests instead of the previous co-host. And each week, of course, after that was with different guests, and you were on a number of times. It's been a while. It's actually been a while since you've been on the show last, so I'm glad you're here. Now we got Warren here as a co-host here. We've been having a lot of fun as well, so I want to keep doing that as well. That intro clip you just heard was actually from MacStock 2015, the very first MacStock, and I was on this. I had the pleasure of speaking at that very first MacStock and all four after that, It was when I was on stage with Tim Robertson and many of these other podcasters, and I felt at the time, what am I doing on this stage? I'm not a podcaster. I remember when I was sitting up there, I'm like, holy cow, these guys are all like podcasters, all rock stars, and I'm just some guy from Chicago that got lucky and was able to speak at MacStock, and they really took me in and gave me some comfort, as you heard in the clip, urging me on to become a podcaster, and I got the bug, and well, here I am. we're here.
I recognize some of those voices back then. Yeah, I recognize Tim.
Yeah, we should know Tim because of the MyMac.com podcast, and and Chuck and Allison, Dave Hamilton was on stage. Gazmaz was on stage, and a number of others. So it was. I have actually a link in the show notes to that session. It was a lot of fun. That ended up getting posted a lot later after that happened, and I was like, God, I wanted to see that because that was fun, and I want to see how embarrassing I was.
This is where I would normally jump in and plug MacStock. Like, this is so great. Like, everybody should go. It's going to happen this summer, and we can't this year.
Yep. I was just going to say, this is going to be the first year. This is the first year I was going to go. And
because we kept bugging you over the years.
Bugging me to go, and I had said I was going to go this year, and now I can't. So darn.
Boy, howdy, you should be there. And I'm sure David can tell you that when I get to go, all bets are off. We could say, nice. I don't know.
Right. We're going to find out later too.
It's not the image I had of MacStock, but it sounds like fun.
It's a great time. It's so much fun.
I hear good things, and I try to go every year, but every year is like some kind of planned vacation or some kind of school thing or camp thing, and all that stuff. But as you heard, my wife is probably moving out to Chicago. And that will give me easy pass to go out there.
You'll have no excuse. Then we get to hang out too.
Drive out to Woodstock. Woodstock,
Illinois.
Woodstock,
I will kind of mention, because Mike Potter it's not official yet. He is working on a virtual MacStock for this year. So they are working on something. So I can't say really any details as of yet, but stay tuned. You'll be hearing it on the show, of course. And we're definitely we're going to be doing something virtual. And I would not be surprised if I be one of the speakers. So, but who knows? Mike's got to make his decisions. So, as long as
I want to play a game show. I hear there's a game show that I want to play.
Yeah, the My Mac game show. Yeah, with Guy and Tim. Yeah. That was a lot of fun.
I've been part of the game show.
You were part of it. That's right.
I did. I was a contestant one year, but I was part contestant and part. Can we make sure that? Can you be the person who makes sure the telepresence robot doesn't roll off the stage into the front row?
But it did.
It almost did.
It didn't.
Yeah.
It almost did.
It almost did.
Okay, I remember somebody saying you almost lost the robot.
We did manage to save the robot in the nick of time.
Okay, so you did your job. Yeah. So
it came close. There was a lot of freaking out. I remember.
Oh yeah, it was very tense.
That $100 discount if he doesn't pay for the $10,000 robot.
Not really.
No, they're freaking out. So, but I have about 3 other clips I'm going to play later during the show of a couple highlights I picked out that I thought were fun. So you'll be hearing that shortly. And we have some news to talk about, as well as more about the 100 going back 100 episodes for this show. Beta withdrawal for Warren. We'll be talking about that, of course, and hitting on some other topics as well, and maybe a tip or two and some apps here. So why don't we just go ahead and dig right into the news? I know, Kelly, you guys talked about this on your show with the Daily Observations podcast on Mac Observer. Get a plug in there for you. More than half of the Apple stores have now reopened. And I know Charlotte Henry actually wrote, she's tracking all the stores that are opening. That was a great, I have a link to that article too.
She is slowly, I believe the best way to characterize that is that she is slowly donating her sanity to this task.
I'll have a link to the
We're helping her with perhaps automating the updates of that. But and I think the way she said it this morning on the show was, "You're welcome."
I heard that.
And part of what she's tracking is what value of reopening there is, for that, because sometimes it's in some places it's just curbside, like if you can't really get an appointment, or it's maybe you can get an appointment but you have to book ahead of time. They're not taking walk-ups, and booking that appointment may be out, some days because they're ratcheting down the number of people that's acceptable in the store and all of that. So obviously they can only have so many Genius Bar appointments at a time. Yeah. So like what that looks like, and discouraging people from coming in to browse. If you already know what the shiny thing is that you want to buy, like maybe you can come in and buy it, but otherwise, like, do that stuff online and don't come in the store. And I'm very interested to see how this goes. And one of the things I think is that I think is going to happen is that Apple is going to maybe catch some heat for this, because they're one of the few companies that's like, yeah, we're trying to open in places where it's safe, in places where it seems like it makes sense. We're trying to open. But like a lot of people who are working from home now are working on MacBooks and using like a work iPhone or a work iPad and trying to get things done. And if your work gear doesn't work, then neither do you. Right. So it's kind of a thing that they have to do. And I feel like there's maybe a little canary in the coal mine. And like, if I thought they were doing this prematurely, if we were having this conversation a week ago, I would have said, somebody at Apple has scored the best possible recreational marijuana and is on something, because this is clearly a terrible idea to any sane person. But it doesn't seem like maybe that's the case. So like we said, and like Apple has made clear, they are doing it only in places where it's safe. So in places where things are still locked down, I don't remember what the one Charlotte said this morning. It was before we were doing the show, and she said, an Apple store in Brooklyn, I wonder if it's open.
I don't think so.
We were kind of, the answer is no. Spoiler alert, the answer was no. But like in places where it seems like it makes sense, in places where it's okay to be open and have a certain number of people inside the same space together. Apple seems to be doing that. And if they're going to do it, I feel like they're trying to go about it as responsibly as they can. So I do want to give them credit for that. And if it turns out that this starts going terribly wrong, I will also call them out for that if something happened that they were just not paying attention to in the name of having the stores open. But it doesn't seem like that's a move Apple wants to make.
No, none of the stores are on this list in Illinois as of yet, but Illinois is opening up tomorrow. In fact, the mall that I live nearby, Woodfield Mall, they put on the news is going to open tomorrow. So I'm wondering if Apple will be opening that store that's in that location. So I bet.
Is that the store that's behind you?
No, I don't know where that store is that's behind me. That we're recording live here on Facebook on Zoom here. I probably just grabbed that from some. That's the pretty standard the design of the stores these days. But I would think Illinois is going to start. You're going to start seeing those on the list. And I think in Pennsylvania, where you are, Warren, I only see Pittsburgh. So.
I'm looking on the website on 9 to 5 Max. Link within the link. There's an interactive
is there
tracker.
So they went ahead of Charlotte and got the interactive thing going.
It's a map. It's kind of like a map, a zoomable map. And if you kind of look at the whole U.S., you'll see that the Northeast is all red for the most part. Chicago's right now all red. And then kind of in the Midwest, it's
should change.
South, Dallas, Texas is all green. So, I mean, it depends on where you're going.
Hey, Vegas is open. So,
is Vegas? Not according to this.
Yeah, it's on.
Oh wait, there's two of them. Yeah,
well, there's three.
Paradise is
Reno
close. Too. Yeah. So I mean that map might not be perfect, but a lot of and what Kelly was saying that a lot of people come to me with their broken stuff during the pandemic. And, they're like, I had one lady who lives on the other side of the country who I used to do support for because we live next to each other. And she only uses me for some reason. But anyways, she's like, my MacBook's broken and Apple stores are closed. I can't get it fixed. I'm going to run to Best Buy and just buy a new Mac. And she had a 2018 MacBook Pro. Or something. I'm like, lady, it's her name. I'm like, lady. Relax, have a drink. Go on Apple's website. They will mail you a box, and you mail the box back, and you'll get it back soon. And then somebody else local. There's third-party repair shops are still open. Some of them.
In some cases, yeah.
Yeah, like the place where me and Ed used to work, Dave. I work for an Apple authorized repair place. They're open. Mm-hmm. I have a hard time recommending people to go there because that's why I'm not there anymore, but they're still open. So there's options, but again, it's hopefully they start opening up without the country getting affected again. They were one of the, if not the first big company to close. Mm-hmm. I think they might have been like the first one to close the stores, which was interesting.
First or nearly, at least that I remember hearing about. So
so they had enough time to research some of this stuff as far as how to make it work. Yeah. But you don't go in and lick the iPads. That's definitely on the list.
Anymore. If you were doing that before, you don't get to now either.
If you lick it, you own it.
I think part of it is that Apple's support options have gotten a lot better too. Like even if you're out of warranty, even if you don't have Apple Care, and I know sometimes people have called me and said like, I didn't buy the extended warranty they were trying to sell me, and my computer doesn't work, and it's been 18 months or 24 months. What do I do? Mm-hmm. And Apple will still give you a certain amount of assistance aside from that. That didn't used to be the case. It just sort of used to be like, Apple Care or GTFO. And they've gotten a lot better about like, we can get you this far. Like, yes, you need a new computer for the lady that was talking to you, Warren, or just, you need to wipe your phone and here's instructions on how and things like that. And they've gotten a lot better about being accessible in that way. And like Twitter as well, they do a lot on Twitter with Apple support and make it a lot easier to try and get some basic answers at least, so you can get on the road to figuring out, do I need to call and have them mail me a box, or do I really just need internet recovery? And like, what's the difference there?
Absolutely. Next story was about the Apple was reissuing numbers of iOS apps updates potentially related to the recent app is no longer shared bug. I linked to the one at Mac Rumors, but I think there was an updated article to that since that. And I think Apple has since fixed this issue, as well as all the app developers were forced to update their apps in order to fix it.
That was like 3 days ago.
Yeah,
that happened. It started happening to me, and at first I'm excited because I love updates, and then I was like, "There's something wrong. There's something wrong with my phone." So I was in the process of doing an iCloud backup and about to do a full restore and backup, and then I'm like, "This can't be right." I went to my iPad, and my iPad had all the updates. So I'm like, "All right." I have no idea what's going on. Then the article came out. So
yeah, because you love
I love
on
updates.
the edge.
Well, I mean, the thing when last week or the week, whenever where Facebook had the issue where you tried to launch an app and it wouldn't open because of the Facebook authentication. When those kind of things happen, and then when this thing happened with the App Store, the first thing that goes in my head is, I'm just wiping and restoring it because this is not normal. I've seen it all. I haven't seen this, and something's wrong. So, I have to sit down, breathe for a second, and then, eventually there's an article on Mac Rumors that says, it's not just you. And I'm like, okay, good. It's not just me.
That's always my first thought too, is like, I've screwed something up. Clearly the problem is me. Like, let's see if that's the case, and then sort of figuring it out. So,
So it's fixed.
It's fixed. I think the update stopped yesterday.
Yeah. Next story this is from The Verge. I know all of us love this new service called Quibi. You can now actually watch Quibi shows using AirPlay, because when they first introduced it, they said it was iPhone only, and which I thought was absolutely crazy, even though they're only like 7-minute little videos of stuff. But they now have opened it up so you can stream the app to AirPlay, so you can watch via your Apple TV or any other device that has AirPlay installed. Kelly, have you played with this service at all? Hello?
I have not. And part of it is, honestly, it was never a service for me in the first place, because part of the sort of marketing around it and the story that they were telling through the launch was, and we do talk a lot about this regularly on Daily Observations, because Charlotte likes to come talk to me. We call it Media Monday most of the time, or TV Tuesday, depending which day is the day that we figure out this is the good topic.
Yep.
And one of the things we talked about was how the whole point of Quibi was, it's these quick little episodes of things that you can watch, like on your commute, when you're on the go, when you are moving through the world in a completely normal, average way, and then all of that stopped.
Yeah.
So that was like, it's really through no fault of their own that this is sort of what happened to them, was like they made this service for when you are in line, right behind somebody at some place and you're waiting, or you're riding the subway, which is full, or you're on the bus, which is packed, like they made this service for those little interstitial times. So they made these little interstitial episodes, which seems cool, but was never going to be for me, because I work remotely. My day job is remote. Everything I do for Mac Observer, I do here in my same home office. So I don't have a commute. So like what commute I have is down a flight of stairs from the rest of the house down to where my office is. So like, even with traffic, as I like to say, if Mr. Kelly is trying to go up the stairs at the same time as I'm going down the stairs, it's still well under a minute. And so this was never a service I was going to sit around and enjoy anyway.
Yeah.
But I know Charlotte has sort of sampled it, and we've talked a little bit on, like I said, on TDO about kind of the obstacles it was trying to overcome. And, some of it was their own fault, but even though they did kind of shoot themselves in the foot, like, I get that the world kind of primed that for them, but it was absolutely Quibi pulling the trigger on themselves. Like, it was a combination of both of those things that caused it to be like, even now, like here we are at the end of May, like you can say to people like, remember Quibi? Oh yeah, that was like a thing we were supposed to like all be into. And
Yep.
So maybe they're doing this and maybe this will help. Although,
I think it's too little too late, I think.
Yeah. Like I'm going to sit down and, rig up AirPlay. I know it doesn't take all that long, but yeah, if it takes me a minute to do it for a 7-minute show, like odds are slim.
Yeah. Any thoughts, Warren?
On your recommendation, and you told me T-Mobile gives it to us for free, so I got it, and then I watched the one show with the with John Legend's wife, which the court show,
Christy
which was
Teigen.
Christy Teigen, which was so, but that was it, and then I stopped. I stopped altogether.
Yeah,
I kind of forgot about it, to be honest with you, and just there's so much other good TV on now that you can't really waste your time. I know it's 7 minutes, but I just started a great show called Upload on Amazon. Years ago. And that's halfway through that, and we need to watch. It's like a couple others that need to watch. I need to watch Mythic Quest. Everybody's talking about with that on Apple TV, because that looks like something I would like too. So, anyways, 7 minutes is too long. I can't do it.
Too long.
So I don't have the time.
It's an allocation of time, right? Like that's 7 minutes I could spend watching an episode, watching 7 minutes worth of Billions, right? Like why would I be watching Quibi? Yeah.
Exactly. So the big question is, if you AirPlay it to your TV, can you take your TV and tilt it the other way to get the other view of it?
Yeah, that's right.
I wonder if my TV stand does that. No, I have to.
Yeah, you need to flip it so you could get that different view. No,
but it actually works vertically. Yeah.
I think somebody was saying, one of the podcasters was saying that the person who started was this media Mongol, and he was very tight, and he thought he knew everything about it, what he was doing, and that's why he locked it down to the iPhone. He thought this was going to be it, and people around him were like, you should. No, we're just keeping it. Maybe it's a good idea to let them watch it. No. So there you go.
Well, okay. I will say it might be understating it to call Jeffrey Katzenberg a media mogul, because he was the chairman of Walt Disney Studios for like 10 years. Like he was the one that brought back animation. He is the reason we have The Little Mermaid and The Lion King.
Oh, good.
And all of that. And before that, he, if I'm remembering correctly, he was the K in SKG DreamWorks when DreamWorks started. Yep. It was him, Steven Spielberg, and David Geffen that decided they wanted to build an animation studio because he was done being at Disney. And so they went off and built SKG DreamWorks, which is now usually just called DreamWorks, like Shrek and all of that. Like that was all him too. So he's like pretty serious. He has really serious media chops, which is part of why watching this whole thing happen was really confusing for me, like because I'm a Disney nerd. So like his name is a name that I've heard, in information flows that I follow for decades. And so like to listen to him talk about Quibi like this, and I'm like, dude, like I know you know better. Why is this where you're going? And it was just so weird.
Ego, and some people think they're not going to know what the next big thing is, and maybe in a post COVID world it might work, and maybe it's just not the time to do it.
Sure.
But I think somebody else was saying that they got a couple big contracts out there in the works too.
Yep.
So I mean, if you get the right show, and certainly John Legend's wife is not going to sell the service, but if you get the right show and people start talking about it, then
exactly,
could happen.
And it is possible. I mean, we saw Apple do this with the morning show. Like lots of people were talking about the morning show when that was the thing that was first rolling out. And Apple's, and at that point, like Apple really wasn't a media company. They weren't competing on the level that Netflix and all of that was. And I know we're not the media show, we're the iOS show, but
no, I'm opening the topics up. We're having a great
see, I can go as far down that road as you want me to go, David. I just think like they were not a media company, they were a tech company, and that was part of why I think there was a whole lot of kind of turning up of noses collectively when Apple was like, we're going to have a TV service and we're going to build all our own stuff, and like we wrote Oprah a check, and we've got Muppets, and things like that, like
Fraggle Rock.
Even before Fraggle Rock, because they got Helpsters, which is a Muppet a show featuring Muppets. It's not the Muppet Show. That's a whole different thing. I have strong feelings about the Muppet Show. We can talk about that on your 200th episode. Make a note.
I love the Muppets. Love the Muppets.
There's no season 4 and 5 on DVD, and it really makes me upset. And I'm really, really frustrated by that because they were supposed to come out because they even had cover art for season 4, and it was gonzo. And every time they put out the first run of the DVD box set, the front is fuzzy. I have season 1, season 2, and season 3, and they're all fuzzy. And it was going to be gonzo, and it was going to be fuzzy, and it was going to be amazing. And it never came out, and it never came out, and it never came out. And at this point, Disney owns everything. How do they not have the rights to release season 4 and season 5 on disc? This is my question, because I think if Disney Legal goes through everything they actually own, they accidentally bought the rights at some point to all the stuff that they never had the rights to before. And why can't you just give me the Muppet Show? Give me the rest of the Muppet Show. That's all I want in life.
What season was Miss Piggy and Elton John sing Don't Go Breaking My Heart? Because I did watch that on YouTube not that long ago, because that was one of my favorite ones.
I don't remember which season it was, but one of the seasons I have of box art is Miss Piggy, and it's fuzzy.
Okay.
And it's awesome. They're Kermit, Fozzie, and Miss Piggy are the 3 covers of the 3 boxes now. And then the 4th one was going to be Gonzo. They never showed us box art for number 5. But when the first of the new Muppet movies came out, the one that was just the Muppets, when that came out, they were like, this year is going to be the year of the Muppets, and we're going to do all these great things. And here's season 4 of the DVD art, and it was great. And then nothing. And it makes me very sad because I want season 4 and season 5. And part of the reason the box sets are awesome is because they offer the UK sketch, because there used to be more commercial time in the United States than in the UK. So when they would broadcast the episodes in England, they got a whole nother sketch that we never got. And unless you can really find those on YouTube, and most of the time that you can't, but if you could, only some of them were there. And so they include the broadcast quality, which still, is not great, but they were shot to film, so it wasn't terrible. But those are all like you get to see all of those UK sketches as part of the episodes, and it's awesome. So.
All right. Well, we'll go back to iOS
Welcome
now.
to In Touch with Muppets.
Gotta love the Muppets.
Okay. That's why I love having you on the show. We always have good chats about all kinds of great topics here.
But yes, Apple not being a media company, to get back to my original point, because Katzenberg came from all the media, it seemed like a thing that he would be really great at doing. And so for him not to be able to do that, it felt like Quibi didn't get a lot of grief that Apple got when Apple decided they were going to step into this business. So as weird as this sounds, if Quibi can follow in Apple's footsteps and just put out some good content and let it speak for itself, but start by having something really interesting, I think they might be onto something, and it might be something that can survive if they can survive now. If they can make it to the after, then maybe there's a place for them on people's phones. I don't know.
Absolutely. The last story we had for this week was about jailbreaking, which I don't do. Hackers released a new jailbreak that unlocked every iPhone. This was in TechCrunch. And just as kind of a stream, I don't usually use TechCrunch as a source, but I thought this was interesting. It says a renowned iPhone hacking team has released a new quote-unquote jailbreak tool that unlocks every iPhone, even the most recent models that are running 13.5. For as long as Apple has kept up with its walled garden, they call it, approach to iPhones, they have only allowed apps, of course, that they approve. And we know all about what jailbreaking does and allowing you to hack it. I can't remember the last time I jailbreaked an iPhone. It must have been the first few years I had a phone. But Warren, what do you think of this?
I used to do it.
I figured you did.
Yeah.
That's why I went to you first.
I did it when it first came out, and then I did it for a few years after that. And I played with the themes, and then I would get tired of it, and I remove it, and then eventually, when when iOS got to a point where I didn't need to do it anymore, I lost interest completely of it. Yeah. But I was curious, so I did it. I did it to my phone the other day. Panicked after I did it because I'm like, because I don't like it. Yeah, I didn't want to, but it worked okay. So then I'm like, so I did the jailbreak, and I couldn't get any themes to work, but I got a couple apps to work. And there is one app out there on jailbreak that I really love, and it's a great app actually. basically shows all Wi-Fi networks you've connected to, and it shows you the Wi-Fi password of all the Wi-Fi networks you're connected to.
Nice.
Lovely.
Which is a good app, especially if you're doing tech support for people and they forget their password and you've been there before and you're like, oh, I know your password because here it is.
Yep.
So that's the one app I kind of liked. But in any case, I panicked and then I did I did an iCloud backup before I did the jailbreak. So I'm like, okay, I'm just going to do a full restore and let it go overnight to get my photo library going. And I woke up the next day and everything looked good except all the jailbreak icons were still there. I'm like, how does that? I do. Yeah. Well, so I did a research and I removed it properly and then I installed it again yesterday just to kind of play around with it again. Now that I know how to put it on and off easily, it's all right.
Now I remember why I did it is because if you remember correctly, Apple would when the first iPhone came out, they're on stage. They have that magic cord that's plugged into it, so you can present on the screen. And back in those days, you couldn't do that. I had the 3G, the 3GS, and none of those phones could do that. So I remember I did jailbreak it because Cydia had an app in there that allowed you to be able to present your phone because I was always doing stuff on it. I'm like, how am I going to show this? I don't want to be beaming a camera and I want to be able to do what Apple does. So finally they opened it up, but that was the reason why I did it. I just remembered that. Kelly, did you have any thoughts on this?
I do. I liked themes, but I did jailbreak for quite a while because I liked what we now think of as the control center when you pull down from the time and there's like your Wi-Fi networks and whatever other little things you want to put there. Yep. And also at the time, Apple wasn't doing this. So putting apps in folders made me so happy. Before Apple made it so that you could put apps in folders, you just had to have pages and pages and pages of apps. Once they let you have apps, then they wouldn't let you organize them at all. And so you had to I would jailbreak I literally jailbroke so I could have folders. And then the pull down, the Android style little pull down and see all your stuff there kind of at a glance. That was stuff that I thought was great. And then I got that stuff in iOS. And so I sort of quit. Once iOS did the things that I was getting out of jailbreaking, then I lost interest.
Yeah, I remember.
I remember using the presentation thing and like hooking up to my own TV just because I was like, I can do this now, and I would just show people, just to show off, kind of. But mostly it was just like folders seemed like such an obvious thing, and I think there were like 2 full Phone OS releases before it was even iOS where they still didn't do it, and I was like, well, I guess I'm still jailbreaking.
Yeah, I was like you. I was on a mission to do it. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'm saying they still don't do the home screen folders, right? I mean, because I remember jailbreaking had really cool things where it would automatically alphabeticalize them for you, things like that. I mean, even now, I've tried that. I've tried to put my apps in folders and put them in alphabetically. I'm like, I'm not doing that anymore. It's just not worth it. Yeah. But yeah, there was. I mean. So I looked, it was nice back then. I look now at the App Store in Cydia and it's a lot different. So when we were doing it, most of the stuff was free. I would say 80% was free. Right. I think it's flipped now. So everything I've seen that's out there new is $1 or $2. So I'm like, I'm sure it's neat and all, but I'd rather give the $2 to a developer in the App Store than some hacker somewhere.
I hear. So, all right, that's the stories of this week. Let's go on to the topics. I figure I'd start off topic with our continued celebration of the 100th episode. Going. What's that?
I just went celebrate.
We'll celebrate your birthday too.
My watch has balloons on it.
Yeah, that's right. You got balloons. Nice. There you go on your Apple Watch. So I wanted to go back in time and play a clip from one of the old episodes. This was episode 32. This was back when I was with Mr. Mike Potter, and we happened to get lucky enough to be out at the Apple Store on Michigan Avenue in Chicago and recorded the episode. So let's go ahead and play that clip. But my guest today is from the podcast For Mac Guys Only, Mr. Mike Potter. How you doing, Mike?
Hey, Dave. How are you?
Doing great.
I don't think I've ever been on your show before.
No, this is your very first time.
Wow.
And We are. He is also the coordinator, the master planner of Macstock, which we
planner.
We just got back from that, and we talked about that in the last episode. Yes, this was a great thing, and I just remembered. I think this is episode 32.
You can fix that.
We'll fix it. We'll fix it in post.
I was watching the Island Party boat go by out there. Did you mention where we're at?
Yeah, we are sitting right outside the Apple Michigan Avenue location, and which is on the riverfront. We have boats going by, and so you're going to be hearing some beeps and horns and people walking by. Yeah, so it was interesting. That was a lot of fun. We actually got to sit right on the Chicago River. That's if anybody's not familiar with the Michigan Avenue store in Chicago, it's an absolutely beautiful store. It's like one of the flagship big stores. And Mike and I sat on the benches. I had my little Zoom H6 recorder. We both had our mics and we were recording the show. I had a lot of fun. The reason why we went there was my Apple user group, Suburban Chicago Apple users. I was fortunate enough to get contacted Apple at that time, and I've since have lost that, unfortunately, because Apple changes. They change jobs like every other day. But he got us into the store. We were able to actually go into their boardroom, and we actually had a presentation on all the different products and
nice.
programs at the Apple store. So it was a lot of fun. We had about almost 20 people that got to come from our group, and so I said, "Wait, what the heck? Let's record an episode. I can do it live and." Record live, and it was a lot of fun. So that was one of the highlights. We got a couple more coming in a little bit here, but let's start off and talk about beta this week. Warren, you're going through beta withdrawal.
Yeah. So what's today? It's today Thursday.
Today's Thursday as we record this.
All the days just tie into each other.
They do.
Someone called it Blur's Day the other day. I'm going to just share that with you.
That
Blur's
right.
Day for every day. Like whatever day it is, it's Blur's Day.
Or it could be Y Day. You know, why? why is there another day?
Just why?
Why?
Yeah.
So anyway, it was 2 days ago, maybe. Catalina came out out of its last beta.
So you have no betas.
So that's it. Yeah, everything is freshly installed on the new stuff, and I don't think there's going to be. I can't imagine there's going to be any more iOS 13 betas.
No, I wouldn't think so unless there's a patch or something.
Yeah. I would say maybe one more, but not nothing of consequence.
Not a major release like 5 was.
No, nothing of scale. Like they're just fine. They're fine tuning now because the next beta we're going to get is probably a dub. I would imagine.
Yeah.
Right, but this the last set of updates were all COVID related for the most part. So I think their plan initially was to stop where they were before that. So, but Tuesday of next week will be a sad day.
It will.
Because I'm gonna keep looking for that update, and it's not gonna be there.
You're not gonna. I just renewed my developer's account too, so it's gonna be lonely there for a while.
Yeah, let's see what comes up.
Well, for what it's worth, you won't remember that it's Tuesday, so it's true. Not like
that was the only way I remembered it was Tuesday. Is because the beta Tuesday the iOS beta came out, and Wednesday the macOS beta came out, and that's how I could set my watch. And now I have nothing.
That is true. And as you mentioned, Kelly, WWDC is going to be coming June 22nd, the virtual version, which I think I'm looking forward to. It's going to be exciting on the internet. Mm-hmm. Everybody can attend and everybody can watch, and I'll be glued to the screen looking at all that stuff. And so that's coming soon, and so iOS 14 will be out. Now, speaking of iOS 14, and Kelly, you don't know this, but last week we had a bit of a debate with our good friend Guy Searle. He was challenging the fact that iOS 14 was going to come out this year, and we basically said he's crazy, and we knew he's crazy, but and
bless
the same
your
thing,
heart, Guy. You can tell us about that. Bless your heart.
And the same thing with the new iPhones and new devices. So there was a bit of a debate, and Warren and I were both talking about this last week. I don't think he's right. I think iOS 14 for sure is going to come out. At least it'll come out in beta, and I would not be all surprised if we don't see new iPhones in September, October, like we normally do. I think iOS 14 will still come out, is what I think. And what do you think, Warren?
Well, the debate, just so Kelly knows what we're talking about, I think we're all in agreement that WWDC is going to drop, obviously, the first day during the keynote. Right after Tim finishes his speech, there's going to be the downloads available for beta 1 of all the operating systems. If not, if the beta doesn't come out during that time frame, then there's going to be a lot of developers looking at themselves like, why am I here?
Scratching their heads.
Yeah. So that's coming out. So then so we all agree on that. The question is whether if the phone's delayed, and if it's delayed till October, it was normally come out in October. So it's announced in September, October, and then it drops over.
It's usually
October.
like late September. Yeah.
Yeah, and then 2 weeks later you could buy the thing or something like that. Right. So if the phone's delayed until Christmassy or December or something like that, the question is, are they kind of release iOS 14 or wait till the phone comes out and then release it? Because it will essentially be done. I would assume the beta process will finish by the time that phone normally would drop in October. So the question is Tim Cook gonna hold on to it till the phone comes out, or is Tim Cook gonna release it before the phone comes out? And Dave and I think they'll release it before the phone comes out, because you want to get people excited about the new features. It could possibly help sell the new phone. With some of the features such as augmented reality. The guy kind of thinks that and I get his point. His point is the phone and the new iOS go kind of hand in hand. People see the ads for the new phone with the new operating system on it, and that makes them want the phone more. So there's that's what we're talking about.
Of course.
Here's where I think this is. Here's where I hope this goes. Both with iOS and with macOS. And we did talk about this a little bit on TDO when the iPhone SE dropped. And, that's sort of been the interesting thing really in the last couple of months. Like, I started staying home and Apple just started throwing products at me. Like,
right.
We got new computers. We got some more new computers. We've got a new phone. The new phone that was never going to happen. Like, how many times did we hear SE2 rumors? Once the SE sort of got a little long in the tooth and everything went to the notch, and there were still people holding on to the iPhone SE because that 5S size was just the best size, which I still think is true. There's been a lot of, there was discussion about it forever, and then we finally got one. And what I hope is that we do, I expect we will get new versions of operating systems. We will get 10.16. We will get iOS 14. But I think, I expect that's what will happen. I hope that what those are is your Mountain Lion release, your High Sierra release. They're your bolt tighteners. We're not giving you a load of new stuff with these. We're just locking down what's there. We're refining the features we gave you. I'm going to get the numbers wrong, so I'm not going to say which versions of iOS it was. But when AirDrop went from a thing that people could use if you stood on one foot in the light of the full moon on a Saturday, you could transfer something easily to your computer from your phone. And then Apple went, here's a new version of iOS, and everything was fine. And it would just work like it was supposed to all along. And I want that, because it's been long enough that we need one of those. So for what value of new operating system, I think, is really the better question, because we're going to get those things. Because otherwise, everybody's going to go stand 6 feet apart and bring torches and pitchforks and riot in the streets, at a respectable distance. But that's what's going to happen if we don't get these things from DubDub. That's how, Apple does very little on a schedule that is known to the public. And this is one of those things. There's 3, and this is 1. And so they're obviously going to have to give us something. Now, the amount of new stuff in iOS 14, in macOS 10.16, that's up for debate. I would really like to see refinement, bolt tightening, the security stuff adjusted a little bit. I'd like to see some of that lighten up a little bit and just be obvious about this. Are you sure this is the thing you want to do, instead of denying you from the get-go? I would like to see that, but that's a separate podcast. So David, I hope you're making notes, because I'm giving you the next 99 shows so that you can make it to 200.
I'll have to bring you back on so we can talk about it.
So what I hope is that happens. Now, as far as hand in hand with the new release, Apple Apple used to do that. Like the new OS and the new phone used to be available to the whole world on the same day. And it was a nightmare. I was one of those people and it sucked. So what they've started doing, what they've done for a number of years now, like all the notch phones had this. And I think even once we went to like Apple Pay, like once Apple Pay became a thing, like around that time, and my memory could be a little hazy on this, but around that time, we started getting the new version of iOS a week-ish or so before we got the new phones in hand, so that everybody who had a phone right now could stampede to the servers and spend all their time trying to pull them down. But that wasn't like everybody. That was only like almost everybody. And Apple servers can handle almost everybody, but not everybody. So once we got like almost everybody, then like, the update servers could take it because everybody's downloading that thing over the air. Once we went to over the air updates, that's when like the new version of iOS and the new version of iPhone separated by like a week or two. So I think we will get that same thing again this year. But what I'm hoping is that they don't try and jam a bunch of stuff into the operating systems and then have things break and have it still be really hard to get into an Apple store or get a hold of somebody in Apple support, so that we can get fixes for the things that are wrong. That's my hope.
Of course, guys in the chat room and at Facebook and made comments already. Asked me how did I get to the Apple store? Well, I'm here. That's right.
I think I just got a text from somebody. Did you get this?
Did you?
I got a text from somebody. I never got. Hold on.
And of course, Guy says iOS next year or when the iPhone comes out. He's adamant.
Are y'all gonna make me go to Facebook and smack him down?
Yeah, no, but what is this about?
That's who that is. I'm like, I got that picture too. What's going on?
Did you?
Did he text me?
Yes.
I think we all got the text.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He must not have my number.
It says maybe Dave Ginsburg.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
It's a picture of Guy and he looks unhappy, I'm sure. And I'm reasonably convinced I'm good at that. Hi, Guy.
And
I think he's just he wants to throw his 2 cents in again. Well,
yeah.
No, but yeah, I agree.
And he says except he's right. So
yes.
Oh.
Well, anyway, we're giving him all this airtime. I don't know. And then I also thank Michael LaPlante came into the chat room. Thank you for the congratulations. I appreciate that. All right. I think we've had enough discussion about Guy for one night.
It's cute that he thinks he's right, though. It's adorable. It really is.
Yeah, I get where he's coming from, but yeah, he's not right. But
all right. Let's move on to a different topic here. So we're seeing a lot of online sellers, including Woot, offer really, really cheap older iPhones. And of course, they sell out pretty quickly. I think the last sale that Woot has, I'm not even going to link on the show notes because it says it's sold out everywhere. They were selling the iPhone 5S, was it? Or the 5, I think, for $39. People were buying it all the way up to a 6S, which 6S is still supported. I think 6S was like anywhere from $90 to $100. So if you were looking for cheap iPhones, that's great. That they're getting them. I can't believe. I mean, they've done this like 3 or 4 times now, and I was like, boy, there must be a lot of stock out there of old phones that they're certifying refurbished. So it's great to see. But the reason I want to bring that up is the iPhone SE is such a solid phone. We talked about it a number of times already, and it's been out for I think over a month now, and I really think it's a solid phone in the pricing that Apple put it at. They're really they haven't set any sales numbers yet for how many iPhones SEs have sold yet, but I can just imagine that they've been selling them like crazy because people want to get entry level, want to get into an iPhone for the first time, or a lot of Android switchers might be looking at it because, like we said, the iPhone SE is better than most of the Android phones that are out there now. So I know Macworld just did a really comprehensive story about the iPhone SE and how solid it is, and so have a lot of others. I want to get your take, Kelly, on what the iPhone SE is to you, and what you think if Apple was smart with this.
Aside from the fundamental nitpick I think a lot of people have with the SE2, for lack of a better name,
right?
is it like, aside from that, because that nitpick is the size. I know a lot of people who liked it because, like I said before, it was the 5S size because logistically it's easy to use. And of course, I realize now I'm doing this on video that nobody can see. Your thumb, like a normal standard issue adult size thumb holding onto an iPhone, your thumb can reach almost everything on a 5S screen. And as those get bigger, that gets less possible. So I understand that. However, the Touch ID, I had an iPhone 8 and the body of the SE2 is the iPhone 8. Yeah. And the iPhone 8 was beautiful. And if it hadn't been for the fact that they went, this is a camera that will cause you to faint when you get that night shot photo. And it has Touch ID. And if you get the 11 Pro, by the way, we're going to give you a whole nother camera as part of that camera. What's that meme? Yo, dog, I heard you like cameras, so I put a camera in your camera. Like that is what they did for the 11 Pro, which is what I have. And that's why. And like, but the 8 I loved and I had no complaints. And if they hadn't come out with something spectacular this last fall, I would still be carrying that 8 because the Touch ID on it was just so fast. And the buttons were solid and the size was okay. Like of the sizes available to me, this was a size that I could use. It still didn't fit my pocket, but again, another podcast. There's a whole bunch of things to love about the 8 as a device itself. Now, you take the insides of an 11 and you squish them into an 8 and you give it a camera upgrade to the camera that's a year newer than the one that it's got, because it's the 10R camera, the 8 body, the 10R camera, and the 11 insides. And that is a rock solid phone. And I know this is going to sound weird, but there are people who do not live and breathe technology.
No, that is weird.
I know.
I know
it's
it.
Weird.
Wow.
But there are people who like, I need a phone. It should take pictures. I need it to make calls, and I want enough screen that I can read my texts without my glasses, is a thing I hear from a lot of people. And this phone is that. And for a lot of people, they are upgrading from a phone that was a subsidized phone, perhaps. The last time they paid for a phone, it may have been a $300 or $400 purchase instead of the $900,000 purchase it is now. And so those people are still getting a really, really solid phone. And the lifespan of this phone, because being the 11 Pro insides means it's the 11 insides means that it's going to be a viable phone for probably, 3 years minimum, I think, is what they will officially support generally. Right. And you can probably go 5 or 6. So if you're paying $400 or $500 for that phone, and the other thing that I think doesn't get talked about enough with the SE, so of course I'm going to do it because I'm not talking enough, is they stopped giving you an insulting amount of storage with the entry-level device. It used to be a joke, and it's not anymore. And you can get a really solid phone with a reasonable amount of storage, a really nice camera, and and lots of speed, lots of responsiveness, everything. And it's $400. And that's a much more reasonable purchase for what I like to call capital P people. Yeah. It's a wonderful phone. And if you are a person whose life does not revolve around your phone, maybe it revolves around the stuff in your phone, right? The things that you do with your phone every day. You need a phone that's solid. You need a good performer. You need it to be fast. You need it to be portable. You need it to be, a reliable piece of technology in your life, right? It needs to be like the microwave. Every time you turn the microwave on, the microwave heats up your food. That's awesome. That's what you need out of your phone. And this is the phone for that. People who need a second phone for work, this is the perfect ancillary phone. This is the perfect, I just need a phone because sometimes I'm out and need to make a call or get a text message or whatever. Yeah. This is that phone. And this is absolutely the best phone for regular folks. If my parents had not upgraded to 11s because they just switched carriers, and so they got iPhone 11s basically for free, this is the phone I would be calling my parents and saying, look, it's time to upgrade. This is the phone that you need. Get this phone and move on with your life, and it'll be awesome. And if I know people who are on older devices, I think I have a member of my family that's still rocking a 7. And this would be the phone that I would tell them to upgrade to. Totally. I can't remember who that is. I don't remember if they've upgraded or not, but if they have not, I would definitely say if you don't have a phone with a notch, then this is a rock solid upgrade for you, especially if you want to keep using Touch ID. And right now, that is a really smart idea, which is part of why I think Apple might have unintentionally stumbled onto something great with this. It doesn't take Face ID. And when you can't use Face ID, then,
right.
Having the option to put your thumb on it and have that work is amazing.
Any thoughts, Maureen, before we move off this topic?
No, she covered everything pretty much. The only thing is if you're coming from an iPhone 8 or below, then and if somebody asks me what phone should I get, I'm probably going to steer them towards an 11. Personally, just for my personal taste, I think they would be happy with that. But if they said, I don't want to spend the money, then the SE2 would be a fine. I think they would be happy going from anything under an 8 to an SE2. Yeah. I think anybody with a Face ID phone would not be happy going back towards to that. But, for, as you said, second phones of, people who don't, the phone is, for me, I'm on it I'm like glued to the thing. So I'm on it I'm on it all the time. So like people say, I don't really care that much about the phone. I don't care about the specs and I kind of roll my eyes back a little bit, in my mind because they say that, but I think a lot of people forget, and you see the frustration when they don't have a good phone or a decent phone.
Yeah,
and these people too, because they're like,
absolutely.
Because it's the kind of thing where it's always on, it's in theory always connected, and it should be instant. You should put it up to your face and get what you need to get. Yeah. And some phones are slow, and some phones don't work, and some cameras are slow. So I'm always going to try to push something newer. But the fact that the SE2 has the newer parts for the most part is a good thing. I think I said it when it first came out. It's basically what is a Ferrari engine in a Honda Accord frame, I think is what it is. So, but yeah, it's a good value, but it wouldn't be my first recommendation.
Yeah. Well, it would depend who was asking me, but if it's somebody that I know, like it's not going to be massively important that they get the extra screen or that they get Face ID, or they have said before they don't dig Face ID for whatever reason. If there's things like that, that stuff, then, absolutely, like I would be absolutely comfortable recommending this as a viable option, just like I would an 11 or an 11 Pro. And in fact, I have a work phone that is an 11. And if the SE had been an option when I got a work phone, because I got my work phone in February, and if the SE2 had been an option, I absolutely would have picked. I would have said, when they said choose the phone you want to use as your work device, I would have said SE2, no question.
Yep.
And because I don't spend the bulk of my time on that device, so I need it to be able to make calls, to be able to make texts, occasionally take a picture of a weird networking situation or whatever, and run Slack and be able to check tickets, and like for all of those things, I would have been absolutely happy with the SE2 for all of that, and that would have been what I would have gotten. So yeah.
All right, and then Guy did agree with. There's one thing he agreed with us on is in the chat room. He said the SE is a fantastic bargain, and Kelly, you are right.
I did take a screenshot of that. I did note
we're gonna have to text it. Yeah,
that's only because he just bought an SE2. So
he has an SE2. Yeah, he just upgraded. Yeah, so. Should ask him too.
Like I said, like the 8, the 8 was a great phone, and this would be a great upgrade from that. If I were looking to upgrade, if I were making that purchasing decision now, then the SE2 would be a very serious contender.
Yeah. All right, I have another clip to play, and this one is of our guest, one of my first guests, and that was you, Kelly. And I wanted to listen to this real quick, and we'll make some comments after. Take a listen.
You and I met for the first time in MacStock, which I was very excited. We had a lot of fun, and I remember some cake eating that occurred when you and my wife crashed a bride that came back to the hotel. Do you remember that?
Oh yeah. It was like we didn't mean to crash.
No, it was kind of
like we just showed up and they were right at the door, and so we walked into the middle of.
It was a perfect scenario.
Wedding party aftermath, and hey, there's cake. Like, and they were like handing it out to everybody.
There was a lot.
There was so much cake. I remember it well.
Yeah, you guys had a lot of fun. So,
and also cake.
And a lot of cake. A few adult beverages as well.
Oh yes.
Yes, you had cake.
It was so much cake. I cannot express to you the amount of cake that we were talking about. It was so much cake.
Yeah, it was. If anybody doesn't know, this was at I think MacStock 2018. I think it was. Or was it 2019? I think it was one of those two.
It was 18.
It had to be 18 because that's 18. That was recorded in 18.
It was 18, and then I was there in 19, but there was no wedding party hanging out.
There was not. I remember
offering
that.
Cake.
It was 18, and we had you set up the karaoke, which we had fun with MacStock. That was one of the best things at the Saturday night parties, and Barry Falk putting together all the Jackbox games and in one place at the hotel, and then we had the karaoke going on at the restaurant next door, and we came back to the hotel, and sure enough, there's that bride with the mass amounts of cake. So I thought that was a good highlight.
Literally, we walk into the hotel lobby, and out of nowhere, this exceptionally well-dressed woman is standing there with 3 or 4 other exceptionally well-dressed women, impeccable makeup, perfect hair. We walk in. Hey, do you guys want cake?
That's great.
And like all of a sudden, all of them were coming at us, and I just sort of didn't. I felt like a deer in headlights. I just sort of froze and went, "Okay." I didn't know what to do.
Anyway, that was a fun highlight of when we first came on the show, and that show I remember I had just purchased my iPad Pro 2018.
Yes,
and we talked about that. So I'm gonna have links to all the episodes that I've played highlights in, so you can go back and listen and take
now, David, I have a question for you because I don't think you have a clip of it, but I would like to know what topics you discussed on the first episode of In Touch with iOS.
The first episode, I can probably go back.
What were the current events?
It was with Melissa, so
yes. But what were the current events when you recorded that episode?
I'm gonna have to go look at the notes. It was in 2016. That was the very first episode, and it was in June. And we only recorded 2 episodes the entire year in 2016. So, so it was more introductions. We did introductions of ourselves, and then we talked about all the equipment we had, and talking about. I remember she liked the sleep phones classic. The headbands you can wear to plug into.
Oh,
I now have a wireless. Eye patch that I use now, but
I have those sleep. I do have those.
The sleep phones, the acoustic sheet.
Do you like them?
I got them free for reviewing them.
That wasn't the question.
Well, it influences what I have paid for them. Probably not, but do I like them? Yes. So I haven't used them a lot since. I actually forgot I had them. I'm going to try them. But yeah, it's basically like an 80s style headband that goes around and has 2 little speakers.
It was only 40-minute show, and it was we did introductions, and I had the 6S Plus. We talked about it's all here on the notes. You can go back and look. It's fun. And I had 2 iPads. I remember at that time because it's iPad. I was MacStock 2016. I thought it was important to have both size iPads for the presentation I was doing because I'm an absolute crazy person for purchasing 2 iPads. Yes,
you are the only person who has ever done this in the name of science.
I'm crazy, but I know a lot of other people out there. Well, Boren's crazy too, but we knew that. But
I may have 2 iPads. I'm not going to say anything about that, but I might.
And my 2014 MacBook Pro. So I had the current one. So, but yeah, check that out. Episode 1. That was recorded. 100 episods. June 1st, 2016. That's coming up. Hey, it's June 1st, so it is exactly the 4-year anniversary.
I have sometimes like marked time sometimes by what the technology was I had at that time. So because forever, this is going to sound crazy to people, but I spend a lot of time with my technology, whatever generation of it I have. So being able to sort of think back and go, wow, when that happened, I had a PowerBook 1400, or wow, when that happened, it was my BlueBerry iMac DV, and just sort of thinking about like what technology I had at the time, and then thinking about like how much I've gone through, how many computers I've had since then, since that 1400 CS.
How many?
133. Oh my God, I don't even know. Well, I have Apple stuff, but I also have a budget. So
we all do.
Yeah, like I play Animal Crossing, and I have yet to find the real life equivalent of that tree that grows the bags of money, and then you just shake it and you get money from. I can't find that tree in real life.
It's my wife. I just shake her money.
Oh my God!
So stay tuned for Warren's "I Just Got Divorced" podcast.
Yeah. Well, luckily she doesn't listen.
She's not a geek.
You're gonna find out the minute she starts. I guarantee it.
Probably. Oh, I'm in trouble.
Let's move on to the next topic. The last topic.
I just enjoy. I sometimes enjoy that, like looking back at like what the technology was I had, or like I have this particularly memorable photo, right, that I took with an iPhone 4, or whatever it was, and things like that. And I sort of. It's a thing that I sort of use to kind of also mark the passage of time.
No, thanks for asking that. I wasn't even going to go back and look, but it is fun to look at that and see what I talked about back 4 years ago. And June 1st, so this is perfect timing here. 4 years ago. So let's move on to the last topic, and I'm going to be kind of brief on this one. As I was going to get a little deep into it, but I'm not going to now because of our time here. But important enough. HBO had just released HBOMax. There was a big push on that beginning in the beginning of the month of May. They had HBO Now, and then they have HBO Go. HBO Now is for the standalone subscribers. HBO Go was the app that you use in addition to your subscription with your cable provider. So they released HBO Max. It was very confusing, and that was what I was not too excited about. And I was also not too excited about. I'm a Comcast subscriber, and they weren't going to offer HBO Max. And I'm like, what the heck? I mean, that doesn't. People are going to go and cancel their subscription with their cable provider and go. And that's what I originally had done, because they reduced the price to $11.99 for a year, and then you would get both HBO and HBO Max, which is just basically combined. So on release day, which was the 27th, yesterday from when we're recording this, I go into Comcast chat and he says, "Oh yeah, you can sign up on it now." And of course, sure enough, it's at Xfinity. So I was able to sign up, and now I can cancel it. But I think the content, and that's the most important part as far as that goes, is pretty awesome. I mean, I ended up turning it on the first days. I was just so into it. As I went down like middle of the day, I figured out I'm playing a little hooky out with work in the afternoon. So I went and watched the last episode of Friends, watched the first episode of Big Bang Theory, and then I watched a lot of the Looney Tunes cartoons, because they had like every single one of them almost just about, including ones like back from like 1936, I think was one of the first ones. And so there's a huge amount of content. They got all the Warner Brothers films and all the Warner Brothers TV shows that are linked to that. So it's got a lot of great content. Interestingly enough, it only is working with Apple TV at the moment and on the web and on your iPhone and iPad, because they did not sign their contracts with Roku or the Fire TV for Amazon as of yet. So that's another interesting thing too. And then I just heard today that, if you remember correctly, we were talking about Disney Plus. Disney Plus, I think the first weekend they had already had 4 million downloads of the app and subscribers. HBO Max had 90,000. So not as much of a fanfare for this as they, I think, had hoped that it was going to have. So, and then you also have the competing app with Peacock from NBC, which is Xfinity. Xfinity is already giving Peacock on their X1 platform if you have their service with the boxes, so you can watch that content now, and that's going to come out in July. It's just mind-boggling how much content is going to you be able to absorb using your iPhone, your iPad, and then of course other mediums as well with this. And I mean, I'm hoping HBO Max gets more subscribers. I like HBO. I always have. I think they've got a lot of great content. They always have with their network. So with having this big catalog, I think it's going to be great. Kelly, go ahead. I'll let you give your thoughts on this, because you're the media.
Well, I think part of the problem that they have is like it's HBO, but also they have some of the stuff from DCU. So like some of the DC Universe movies are there.
Right, DC. I forgot that. Yeah.
Some of the DC shows, but not all. Right. And like they have Harry Potter, but Harry Potter's still running on Sci-Fi. And like I feel like the HBO Max rollout is really emblematic of the whole who owns it and how do we get to stream it? Because remember how it was the end of Western civilization because Friends was leaving Netflix.
Yes.
And then people were like, no, really, it's the end of Western civilization because The Office was leaving Netflix because somebody else wrote a bigger check for it. And so now they're on a different streaming service. And part of the thing that is great and terrible about the Apple TV app, not TV Plus, but the Apple TV app, is that you can go to the Apple TV app and you can put in Westworld, for example, because say you have a podcast about Westworld and you want to watch it. And you don't know, you may not know where it is, right? Or you listen to somebody on a podcast who says, I have a podcast about Westworld and you want to go check it out. How do you find out where it is? How do you know if you subscribe to that? And it can be endlessly frustrating. Like if you started watching Friends when it was on Netflix and then it disappeared and now you don't know where it is and you wait for it to come back to Netflix, like all of it is up in the air and it's all kind of a disaster. And then you sort of have to juggle, right? Like I think I saw the other day, there's an app in the App Store to help you keep track of what services you are paying for.
Yes.
So like, I'm paying for Hulu this month because I want to finish watching Castle Rock because I like Stephen King. So then I have to cancel Hulu, but then I'm going to pay for HBO Go, not Max, because all I really want to do is watch a season of Westworld. So I don't need all the extra stuff. But and part of the problem is that HBO already had a solid streaming offering in the first place that didn't require any sort of cable information. And now they've sort of muddied the waters with this. And then like they've sort of made it worse, right? Because like maybe you have Go or maybe you have Now, but you could have Max. And if you have Max, it's like different. But if I have T-Mobile, I get Max for free. But if I have Comcast, I can't get it at all. But wait, yes, I can.
Exactly.
And like the whole thing is just like,
and that's why people I think were probably resistant to downloading the app right away because this is just a big mess.
Well, and I think like it sucks because I fell down, like you were talking about the Bugs Bunny rabbit hole. I fell down the Turner Classic Movie rabbit hole yesterday when I was scrolling through it, which is one of the brand tiles at the bottom. You know, we gave Disney a lot of grief for doing that, but it was kind of smart for the HBO one to be like, hey, Turner Classic Movies, you push this button and like, here's a bunch of old samurai movies. Like you can watch The Hidden Fortress on Turner Classic Movies, and that's really exciting when you're me. And and there's like all these other like old samurai films. It's super great, but like this may be the one that does people in. I think because like Harry Potter isn't there, but sort of is, and
all the movies are there.
Like okay, well, because at first they were like, well, they're not going to be there until later, but now they're there now. So like. There, there's Harry Potter, but no. And then like there is Friends, but there's not The Office. And so all the NBC shows that I like watching are not on the NBC app. Cause like if you get Peacock, you're not going to get Friends because it's on HBO.
Because it's Warner Brothers.
And like all the way down the line, this is going to turn into the thing where people go, I quit. I can't pay for anything anymore. I'm already
too
paying.
Many choices.
Yeah, I have too many services now. I'm paying more for all these stupid services than I was paying for cable in the first place. I give up. Like, I don't know what the opposite is of a cord cutter, but I think we're going to start seeing those people because they're all going to be too confused. It's too hard. It's too much work. I'm just going to go back to having 3 channels I watch and 100 channels I don't, and go back to subscribing to ESPN The Ocho because I'm tired of trying to figure out who owns the show I want to watch. The end.
Days. Yeah. Warren, any thoughts?
No, I've watched as long as I can watch as long as I can find the things I want to watch. You learn a different way. Like I think we said this the other day, or we talked about it, but you don't go to Netflix to find a show that you heard about that you want to watch because it won't be there, and it's never there. You go to Netflix to see what they're offering to you, and then if it looks good, you put it on. Except for maybe a few of them, like the Tiger King, you knew it was there because everyone was talking about it. But if you sit down and say, I want to, I feel like watching, Pretty Woman, you sit down and you type in Pretty Woman Netflix, and it's like movies similar to Pretty Woman, and I'm like, really? You don't have Pretty Woman? I want to watch Pretty. So you can't do that anymore. It's a mess. It's messier than cable, and
it's crazy.
I was kind of thought about this today a little bit, is all these streaming companies should come up with like a streaming service consortium.
And Universal, yeah.
And put all their chips in the pot and figure out a way to consolidate it from the user's perspective while keeping it fragmented on the back end, so the money goes to the right place. And that, I think that's the future. I think eventually that's going to have to happen because people, like you said, are not going to tolerate all these different apps and services and different fees.
And that's how Hulu started. Like the point of Hulu was it was TV shows, but it was 3 different companies that all got together and you could watch all of their stuff all in the one place. And so Hulu was supposed to be the thing that did that. And it was great until everybody got out of it and Disney was like, and then it was just down to Disney and Comcast because it was Fox and Disney and Comcast. And then Disney bought Fox. So they owned like all of it. And then I think they just sort of stared Comcast down and Comcast finally went, fine, you can have it. And then they left.
And Apple tried it too. Apple TV was supposed to be the same concept where the Apple TV app was supposed to tie into every single thing out there. But, as soon as Netflix said we're not going to do anything like that at all ever, that killed it. And so so
this gives me an idea though. You know what I want? I want that interface. I want the TV app to do this. David is smiling. He's like, look, I took today off because I don't have to talk if I have Kelly on the show.
That's why I don't have you on. You have good points. You got viewpoints. That's why you're here.
This is my idea is I want the iTunes store idea to be part of the TV app. I'm going to have to talk about this on TDO tomorrow. Spoiler alert. I think that's going to happen. I'm going to write it down. But this is what I want is like, I go to the TV app, right? And I have a Netflix subscription no, I'll use your Tiger King example. I subscribe to other services, but I don't subscribe to Netflix. But everybody's talking to me about the Tiger King. I didn't know it was Netflix. So I go to the TV app and I search Tiger King and I find Tiger King and it's on Netflix and I don't have Netflix. Am I out of luck? No, because they'll let me watch it for $3.
There you go.
Okay. I will pay $3 and watch that show that everybody in the world is talking about. I might pay $5 or $10 to watch the show that everybody's talking about so that I can be part of that conversation. Yeah. And then let me do that. And if enough people, and then, maybe that $3 or $5, that amount of money goes toward, maybe at the end of the show, it goes, well, it's $10 a month to be a Netflix subscriber. Do you want to pay another $7 and just get Netflix for a whole month? And I bet you the number of people who become Netflix subscribers at that point is just through the roof.
Yeah.
Right. But the problem that happens with that is going to be the Apple News issue. And the Apple News issue is it's the same concept, except Apple says, I want some of that money too, even though you're providing this service. So, Apple TV, Apple comes up with an app that people tie into. All of a sudden, Netflix is saying, sure, I'll give you Tiger King for this. And then Apple says, well, you're using our platform, so I'm going to take some of that too.
Sure.
And then all of a sudden, the publications out there, like, maybe this is not such a great thing anymore because that's right. For the users, it's great. For us,
Well, and my stance on that is the same as what it is with, before Nintendo was releasing games for iOS, and I was like, I'm not buying a whole nother thing to play your game. So I will pay $10 for Donkey Kong on my phone. So you can either get $10 from me for an iOS version of a game that I love, or you can get no dollars from me. And I think if it's up to Netflix what it costs to watch that one thing, whatever that one thing is, like if it's up to Netflix and they ask for a little extra, to cover whatever Apple takes from it, then if it's up to them, maybe that's fine, because again, like you can get $5 from me for Tiger King, not Lion King. That's a different service. Yeah. You can get that $5 from me, or you can get no bucks from me, and I'll go watch something else. And I wonder if that becomes a point. Like if you're Netflix, I see where maybe you don't care. But if you're one of these other services that's trying to compete, I wonder if that's something that might have some appeal.
Right, but like the news services are going to say, "Hey, Kelly, you're going to pay $5 to watch the show. For an extra $4 more, you can have the entire Netflix catalog for the month." And that's what they're going to pull you on, and that's what the New York Times is doing too now, because they're like, that's why they still have their own thing, because they're trying to take Apple out of the equation. And once you start comparing that money difference between a paper, it's almost like. It's just too many hands in the pot. You got the movie studios, got Netflix, you got Apple, you got everybody, and you got to kind of, and money's going everywhere. And now you got all these streaming services where people are tied to those services. it's for the user, it's just a mess. So, I mean, from my point is if they could figure out that one app and you type in my Tiger King, it comes up, and then behind the service, behind the scenes, it goes right to the Netflix servers.
Yeah.
And goes from there. But it's never, it's a mess. It's a mess.
But giving me the option to pay for it if I'm not a subscriber, I feel like that's the piece that's missing right now, because in a lot of cases somebody would pay that. Like, you can do that on iTunes already, right? Like, but I don't know how much Netflix stuff is available. Like, I don't know if you can go get Stranger Things or some other Netflix show like Tiger King. I don't know if you can go buy that on iTunes. I don't know if they're available there, if it's only available on Netflix. So
I think it depends on the thing.
Hey, Netflix, like, I know you have a bajillion subscribers, I think is the right number there. So like, do you want my $5 or do you want my no bucks? And like, I know that if you're Netflix, maybe you don't care, but if you're Hulu, maybe you care. Or if you're any of these services that end in plus, maybe you care. You know, like, if somebody finds out how great it is to watch Disney movies on Disney Plus, maybe they're going to go subscribe. You know, like, I just feel like there may be more to it than that. And that's an easy way to sort of lure people in, right? Like, that's the loss leader. Like, for another $5, you could have Netflix for a whole month and watch this show as much as you want. Ooh, maybe I do. Yeah.
Except at the end of the month where you get the bill for all the stuff you watch, you're like,
exactly.
Did I really need to watch the Princess Diaries? Because that cost me like $8 and I really don't want that.
All right, I'm going to play the last clip I wanted to play here, and we're way over on time here, but that's okay. We're allowed since this is episode 100 here. The last clip is actually from episode 35. That was the first time Mr. Chuck Joyner was on the show, and I wanted to play that now.
I am thrilled to have join me tonight is Mr. Chuck Joyner from Mac Voices. How you doing, Chuck?
I'm doing great, Dave. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for being here. I'm just absolutely thrilled you're here. If anybody doesn't know, Chuck was a little bit of my inspiration when it came to podcasting. I've been doing podcasts for about 2 years now, so I'm a newbie. Chuck's been doing it for quite a long time before me. So, but I've always enjoyed his content on Mac Voices. But I could definitely say that he has been quite an inspiration for me to be doing this podcast, and I can't believe that I'm actually hosting a podcast and actually having you on it with me. So,
well, I appreciate that. I saw you present at MacStock the first year, and we talked about it, and you just seem to be one of those guys that loves to share the information. Of course, with your involvement with user groups, that's evident. And it seemed like the perfect venue, so we had to drag you into it.
See, you twisted my arm, and here I am a couple years later.
Yes, he did twist my arm, and so did everybody else on stage. So I'm so happy I'm here and happy that we're doing the show. So it's been a great 100 episodes, and I'm hoping to do a couple hundred more here. So before we wrap up, I had two apps I wanted to talk about really quick. The first one was called Spend Stack. I don't know if either of you have seen this app yet. This is an app that allows you to be able to create and share shopping lists, budgets, and track your expenses all in one spot. I was pretty impressed with this app. You actually can put together a grocery list and put the costs in and have it all ready to go, and then you actually can share it with people, import it. You can import your Apple credit card statements for tracking your expenses, as well as other statements if you had a CSV file, and it allows you to import it in there as well, and a lot of other stuff. So I thought this was an absolutely great app. I was very impressed, and it's absolutely free. There's no strings, no in-app purchases or any of that stuff. You guys have seen this app?
No, but it's definitely relevant to my interests.
Yes, you should check it out. So yes, it's called Spend Stack.
Love Shack, Shake Shack,
not Love Shack or Shake Shack, but
Love Shack, baby.
Link in the show notes. And then the last app was, and I actually discovered this by these folks following me on Twitter. It was actually last night, believe it or not. It's an app called GoodPods, and they I guess are a company that started. I think it was a shopping service. I think it was called what is it called here? I'm looking on their website. Good something. It's on here somewhere. Good Shop. That's it. Good Shop. So this app is a it seems like it's a podcasting aggregators similar to a lot of other podcasting apps are out there. But what it does is it actually looks for your smartest, funniest, curious, podcast-obsessed friends and influencers. What are they listening to? And it brings up suggestions a lot. And it seems a lot more robust than I've seen in a lot of the other apps that are out there. I think it's worth a check out. And it's actually free, which is great. You always like free. And check it out. We're on there. You guys are on there too. Mac Observer and check this out. And I may actually have the one of the co-creators that's on this website, on this app, JJ Ramberg is her name, on the show as a guest. And so it ended up having that they followed me, and I actually may even get someone to talk about it next week. So I wanted to make sure I mentioned the app, and I've been playing with it for about a day, and check it out. I'm assuming you guys have not seen that as well, right?
No, I'm searching for it right now.
GoodPods.
No, but I ran out of podcasts on the way home today. I'm like, could really use something else to listen to. So
you used it?
There you go.
You did use it?
I have a list.
I'm going to use it now. Yeah. Well,
I'll just tell you all the shows I'm on, and then you can just go listen.
That's
well,
right.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna.
That's in my curated pod, in my pocket cast list. So
I'm gonna what's the word? Not follow you. The more creepier version of follow you.
Stalk.
Yeah, that's it. I'm gonna stalk you and find your podcast.
All right, guys.
It's not hard. I tell everybody about my podcast, so it's fine.
Awesome.
And I do too.
Oh, I got it.
We'll find out about your podcast in just a minute as we go. We'll wrap this show up. This it was allowed to have the 100th episode. I mean, it's probably going to be the longest episode I've had, so which is great. I have no problem with that.
Time for sure.
We had a lot of fun.
You're welcome.
Thanks, guys. Yes, you're great, Kelly. Thanks, everybody. That is a wrap for this week. Please send your comments, questions, and suggestions to our email address, feedback@intouchwithios. We want email. I like to hear from you. Give us any of your comments, questions, and requests. You can follow us on Twitter @InTouchWithIOS. You can subscribe in your favorite podcatcher, including Apple Podcasts. And I just made updates to the website on the right-hand side. Every single way you can listen to us, the link is there. You can just click a link and you'll be able to listen to us. Or better yet, you can just go to our website right there when I just talked about, intouchwithios.com, where all the links to all the ways to listen to us are there. I am Dave Ginsburg, and you can find me on Twitter @DaveG65. Kelly, thanks so much for being here. Where can everybody find you?
Well, as you mentioned, you can find me over at the Mac Observer at macobserver.com. And you can find me there hosting the Daily Observations podcast 5 days a week. You can occasionally find me there writing something explaining stuff. And you can also find my podcast, Greetings from the Uncanny Valley, over at the Incomparable Podcasting Network. It's a show about Westworld over on the TV feed. I pop up there talking about other things like Star Wars. When we do Star Wars episodes at the Incomparable, I tend to somehow become part of those conversations. And you can also find me there talking about other stuff. We just did an episode about the movie WALL-E. And the rest of the time, you can find me on The After Show, which is my podcast with Mike Rose, because we decided when the 2 Talkcast was over, we were going to continue to talk about things. And so we do. And otherwise, you can find me on Twitter as Verso.
Thank you so much for being here. And Warren, I know you don't want to tell anybody where you are, but you have to anyway.
No, don't worry about me. But look, I found Kelly, and I'm gonna. Here we go. Subscribe to.
Is that using GoodPods?
No, this is using the Apple Podcast app. But I just subscribed to the Mac Observer's Daily Observations. I guess is what it's called.
Yes, you have to listen.
Yeah.
I listen every day.
That one sounds like a good one, and that's it. Yeah, don't worry about me. It's all good.
No, you're on Facebook. Tell them about the group.
I have a Twitter thing, but I probably don't use it that much, and it's probably going to be shut down tomorrow, as we know it. And then I do Facebook. I do Facebook until they shut that down too. The group is called Mac to the Future. It's a Facebook group. Search for it. We talk about Apple mostly, and make fun of people who don't like Apple a lot.
That's right, you do.
And we, but we do it with care and love, and we're very smart about it. So, but we talk about anything tech related. Of course, David decided he was going to post in there that he got a free Google Home speaker, and I'm like, "What are you doing, dude?" I'm like, Because there's people in there with the tinfoil hats
free.
on.
That's why
it's free, and I'm like, cool, free thing. And of course, in the Apple group is like, the puking emojis are coming out.
I know.
Things
That's why I did it.
So that's how it goes in there. So if you want to get involved with laughing at Dave's free item, then come join us at it.
The link is in the show notes. Thank you, Warren. Yes. I appreciate everything you've done. Go ahead, Kelly.
David, before we go, I want to say congratulations. I'm super excited for you on 100 episodes. I know that you were kind of iffy, like at first, you weren't sure it was going to be the thing for you. And I really enjoyed the show, and I hope that, and I just am so glad that, I'm glad you got dragged into it, because it seems like once you got here, you were very comfortable behind the microphone, and I'm really glad that you do it now.
I do. I love the show.
And I'm glad that we're friends too.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, we're friends, and I've made lots of other great friends, and everybody's been on the show. They've been so gracious to come on and help me out. And you got a nice compliment from my wife saying you sound really good, and I need that too. So just put in the chat.
My wife doesn't even know I'm here. But.
Yeah, and this has been a lot of fun, and I want to keep doing it and see how things go, and we'll have you on again, Kelly. Thanks again for being here.
And thanks for.
I just want to let everyone know for the record that David brought this on himself. He knew what he was doing when he asked me on the show. I just want to make sure everybody's clear on this.
Yes. No comments. We're happy she's here, and that's why I have her come back on, because you're just an absolute blast to be on with the show. Appreciate it, Kelly. Thanks everybody for listening for 100 episodes. We'll move on to episode 101 and keep going, and we'll see.
Which won't be as much fun.
It will be fun, because we'll be talking more about In Touch with iOS.
You gotta wait for 200 or something to.
No, that's a long time from now.
It'll be very boring. I suggest not even listening to it next time. So.
All right, thanks. Thanks everybody for listening. We appreciate you being here, and we'll talk to you again soon.